if someone finds out about their colleague's salary and he's earning $5,000 more than me a year, I'm sabotaging the company. I ain't doing much. Is it the same in AFL?
There'll be the players that are disgruntled by it. If you think you're equal to or better than, and you're not getting paid the same. And I also like to think that you're only in it for a short amount of time. There's a lot of additional money that can be made outside of what your salary is, but there's always protected sponsors and whatever else. You can't then go and explore and do more with other people because it might break that relationship or cost the club because of a deal that's already done that you're not getting paid out of other than the club's getting paid. For a guy that's on minimum wage, a base wage, they'll have games bonuses, but someone like Dhedhy, who's on $1 million flat for even numbers, you're expected to play 23 games. You don't get a little bonus just for playing.
Do you feel like you guys get paid enough?
It's not enough to be able to set yourself up for life completely after to be able to not do anything.
In AFL, people's salary, I don't know what the right term is, but the big players, their salaries are in public, right? I don't know how accurate it is, but maybe
always.
it's accurate. Yeah, I would assume so. It's not always accurate. Yeah. Does that affect the relationships within the club? Let's say, I think when Tim came on, they made it public where he was earning, did they say over $1 million or something, a year or something? Would that affect the morale of the other players? Like, I've been here for years and I've done well. I've won 3 premierships, and Tim comes over $1 million.
Yeah.
Does that like demotivate players? Because in a normal office space, right, if someone finds out about their colleague's salary, right, and he's earning $5,000 more than me a year, hey, I'm sabotaging the company. I ain't doing much, right? Is it the same in AFL?
There'll be the players that are disgruntled by it. Yeah, if you think you're equal to or better than, and you're not getting paid the same, but then you've got to have that discussion, one, with your manager, which is something that we deal with, and you go to the list boss and the coaches and say, well, hang on a second, where do I need to get better to try and be earning that sort of money? But then most of the time the rhetoric or the answer back is, well, don't you want to be successful? To be successful, you've got to give up a little bit to give back, to get the good players in, and you'll get remunerated as a result of that. Doesn't always happen that way. I don't think they go, oh, geez, mate, thanks for not taking that much. Here's a little bit more on the end, just to keep you happy. It's a balancing act, and that's why list managers get paid what they do, to try and keep it all in check and make sure that you bring in good players in and you're staying competitive. But it's always, if that was the case, and was when I was coming through, as Richo, you're on the most, you can pay. It's your shout. That gets tiresome too, because I've been in that position too with the younger boys, or it's certainly your mates. Your shout, mate. You paying. They come over to your place. You're always paying for all the pizzas and the beers and that are just on in the backyard, which is fine. I mean, it's nice to be able to do that for your mates and be in a position to do that. But as long as it comes back the other way.
Do you feel like you guys get paid enough? I ask this question to everyone. Yeah, that's my answer all the time as well. Like, I don't think AFL players get paid enough for what
it's not enough to be able to set yourself up for life completely after to be able to not do anything.
When you said not enough by how much? Do you reckon it should be double what it is, or?
Yeah, in terms of what the AFL is and what they're worth.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot asked of players on field, off field. Particularly on field, in terms of how fit they need to be, how strong they need to be, how fast they need to be, versus what they have to then offer and provide. And there's no shutting off. Like you can be in your off season, but you're still on. If you go down to the park to walk your dog and some kid comes up and wants to have a chat to you, you can't just tell him to piss off and say, mate, I don't want to talk. I'm off. Yeah. This is my off season. You're a role model and an ambassador for your footy club 24/7. Yeah. And as soon as you get your head around that, I mean, it's better for the player and the club, obviously. But in that, they don't pay you for. They do pay you, but I don't think they pay enough. If that makes sense. And I also like to think that we're only in it for a short amount of time. There's a lot of additional money that can be made outside of what your salary is, but there's always protected sponsors and whatever else. You can't then go and explore and do more with other people because it might break that relationship or cost the club because of a deal that's already done that you're not getting paid out of other than the club's getting paid. So there's a few restraints of trade in there, but it's all part and parcel. Now, I'm not sitting here and complaining about how much I got paid throughout my career. Please don't think that. And if we get an excerpt that's cut up here and people are like, oh, what a jerk, he thinks he was underpaid. Not at all. I was paid very well, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity that I had. But I think that our players could be paid more, given what the game makes.
100%. I've never asked this question, and I've never heard any player explain it. I'd love for you to explain it, break it down for us. Like how does an AFL player get paid? So you got a contract.
Monthly. Just monthly.
It's paid monthly.
Yep.
Is there like bonuses on top? So if you play a game, you get a bonus.
Yep. No, different. For a guy that's on minimum wage or base wage, they'll have games bonuses. But someone like Dhedhy, who's on, let's say, at $1 million flat for even numbers, you're expected to play 23 games.
Right.
So you don't get a little bonus just for playing.
Right.
Those bonuses are for the guys that they're not sure will play, and then you can beef up your salary.
Okay.
But Dhedhy would still have a BNF clause in there where if he wins the BNF, he'd still get 30, 50 grand, something like that. An All-Australian clause, a Norm Smith clause maybe, given that he won 3 of them. A Brownlow clause. For the forwards, a Coleman clause maybe. So, it's just like a lot of other people paid monthly.
So there isn't like, hey, if you get 30 plus disposals, you get a bonus.
I wish. No.
Am I right?
No.
You'd have made a fortune then.
Mate, well, you'd see how many blokes would be racing down to full back to try and take the kick-outs.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like the NFL where, I saw a documentary with Gronkowski where he had to make a certain number of catches to get an extra $1 million, and he comes off, he makes his catch, and he says, I just made $1 million. He couldn't believe it. He was pumped. He's like, my shout tonight, boys. But no, nothing like that. Yeah, there's not really that sort of performance clause game to game. Well, there is none. But certainly end of season, BNF, All-Australian, Norm Smith, all
So
those.
not even for like kicking a goal, like a bonus for that.
Kicking 1 goal? Nah.
Because the soccer's like that.
Yeah.
Football's like that in England, all around the world. It's like if Ronaldo kicks
Little
a goal,
bit,
he's getting a couple nice hefty bonus.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like there isn't much money in AFL. Like there's not enough bonuses. There's not enough this. It's like
But it's because it's salary cap, isn't it? So how far, from your perspective...
We're not individually owned. I think that might be the difference.
Yeah, that's another big factor. But how far below the salary cap? So when you're talking about all these bonuses and whatnot, that's all built into the cap, right?
Well, they've got to do projections
Okay.
year on year. The guys that are in charge of the list. So the list managers have their budget for what they think. They might have a guy who's on base wage who they think, well, he's had a really good pre-season. We budget for him to play 10 games this year. If he only plays 9, well, then they've saved, 10 grand because it's 5 grand a game usually, or 4.5 grand a game. But then you've got to, it's just all budgeting and working out what you can actually pay. But you're allowed to spend up to 105% of your cap in any given year. If you think that you're ready to have a crack, say look at Fremantle for next year. They think they're within a window. They're looking to get Shea Bolton, Liam Baker. They've got their hand in for Jack Martin. I'm hearing as well. It's like, well, maybe we can spend over the cap by 5% to squeeze all these boys in. Hopefully, win one, and then you might be able to, make some cuts at the end of next year and get rid of some players, ease the cap a little bit more to then come back under and be, within what they're allowed to be in for the spend.
So you're allowed to exceed the cap temporarily?
Yes, temporarily for 1 year out of every 3, I think it is. Yeah.
Didn't know that. I thought it was a hard and fast kind of
100, no, you can go over, but you can't stay at 105 for years on end. Yeah.
Okay, because and then when you look at the Australian tax, there goes half your money to the government.
Yeah.
You're left with nothing.
Well, that's where managers come in to help these guys manage their tax.
You got to invest and try and mitigate that as much as you can, minimise it. It's tricky, but if you're paying tax, you're earning a lot, aren't you? Or you're paying a lot of tax, you're earning a lot of money, but it does make it tricky.